Welcome back to 66 in 26, our journey to read through all 66 books of the Bible in 2026. We're kicking off week 12 with a reading from Genesis 42 to 45 today. This is picking up again the story of Joseph, who had been sold off into slavery by his brothers and ended up in Egypt, where he was elevated to be second in command, second only to Pharaoh, and became in charge of all the storehouses of Egypt because there was a famine throughout the Middle East, and the people throughout the region became desperate for grain. And that included Joseph's brothers, who were in the area of Canaan at that time and who needed food and came to Joseph, not knowing that it was their brother who was the one before them, able to sell them grain for their families. Now, you've probably heard me say this numerous times as we've been studying the Old Testament, that we get glimpses in the Old Testament of the bigger story in Jesus Christ. And so we see hints, something that anticipates the coming of Jesus. Now, in the Gospel of John, chapter 1, we're told of Jesus, from the fullness of his grace, that's God's grace, we have all received one blessing after another. We have received grace upon grace. And I think that is anticipated in the story of Joseph and his brothers in Genesis 42 to 45. So when you're reading those chapters today, I want you to just take note of all the ways that God's grace is seen in Joseph's grace for his brothers. After they have mistreated him, hated him, sold him off into slavery, Joseph again and again shows amazing grace to his brothers. There's in Genesis 42 where he at first tells his brothers that he is going to verify their story by keeping all of them in his custody and just sending one of them back to bring back their brother, Benjamin. And then 3 days later, he changes that and he says, no, I'm going to keep just one of you, and all the rest can take grain back to your land. And then on top of that, he doesn't just send them with the grain, he sends the silver they brought to buy the grain back in their bags with them. And so this is once again a demonstration of amazing grace, where he is showing mercy to his brothers who showed him no mercy in the past. And then you get Genesis 43, where Joseph welcomes them back again and welcomes them into his own personal house to have a private dining in his home. His servants provide water for their feet and food for their animals, and they dine from Joseph's own table, which means that they have the choicest of foods presented to them at Joseph's house. Again, an amazing gift of mercy for those who didn't deserve, by their behavior and treatment of Joseph, what they got from Joseph. And then we get to Genesis 45, where Joseph's generosity actually is extended once again and even reaches Pharaoh, and Pharaoh rejoices with Joseph that his brothers have come. And Joseph reveals himself to his brothers not in a way that is vengeful or angry, but receiving them with love and saying, you know, God actually sent me ahead of you so that we could prepare the way for the salvation of this family, the nation of Israel. So once again, we see grace upon grace upon grace. Just notice all those ways that Joseph demonstrates this Christ-like love and forgiveness for those that don't deserve it at all. Once again, anticipating the way that God works in Jesus Christ for all of us.